quadratic formula. So prior to this, we learned about I can solve, I can solve people. Solve a quadratic equation by, and we did graphing, we did factoring, but today, by using the quadratic 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 quadratic formula. And that's what we'll be learning today. Okay.
Now, I start by asking you how to do this. Why do we need the formula? There's a formula formulated. Can we factor this? Find two numbers that multiply to a times c, that's where we got 10 from, and add to 2. So, are there two numbers that can multiply to 10 and add to 2? Integer numbers? 10 and 1? I can't get 2 from there. 5 and 2? I can get 3 but not 2. So this cannot be factored. So what do? I don't know how to separate these two, right? The only thing we can do is, you can put it into, intercept mode, and then it can be vertex form, and then solve. So what do? We factored out this 5 from here, right? 5 times x squared is 5x squared. 5 times 2x over 5 is 2x. And that's how we got this. And then we asked ourselves, what do we need to do? We need to add and subtract a number. To complete the square, we need to take this number, c equals 2 over 5, divide by 2, and then squared. Well, what does that mean? That's 1 over 5 squared, which is equal to 1 over 25. And that's how we got 1 over 25 minus 1 over 25. So this is a perfect square. And then we multiply 5 times minus 1 over 25 to bring it outside the brackets. 5 times 1 over 125 is 1 over 1/5, and the negative stays there. And now we join these two. We add these up by making the 2 over 5 is actually equal to, 2 is actually equal to something over 5, 10 over 5. So we end up getting minus 10 over 5. We add these together, becomes minus 11 over 5. And then finally, we solve for x. So we bring this to that side. That's why we have 11 over 5 there. And then we have, what do we do? We divided by 5. Divided this side by 5 and divided this side by 5 times 1 over, which becomes 5 times 5 is 11 over 25. It's the only change done there. Then we have to square root both sides. So we square root this side, we square root this side. Of course, there's two possible answers here. And then we have to bring this to the other side to isolate for x. I know it's starting to look ugly. Luckily, we won't have to do it this way. There's a formula. I'm just showing you why there's a formula so that we don't have to do this every time. There's two possible numbers. There's this negative 1/5 plus or minus this value. And those are my two answers. But if there was a better way, there is a better way. There is a better way, and that's our quadratic formula, which is not pretty either. You're going to need practice with it. What's this b value? That's that. What's this a value? That's the 5. What's a c value? That's that value. So this is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And I take my values, plug them into these formulas, and I can solve. So like I said, this minus 2 came from here. This 2 came from this b squared, minus, that's our minus, let's clear that, 4 times a times c over 2 times a, and then we just solve. So what's the first thing we solved? 2 squared is equal to 4. We just keep everything else the same. And then 4 times 5 times minus 2 times this minus. This minus and minus become a plus. 5 times 2 is 10, times 4 is 40. And then 2 times 5 is equal to 10. Of course, nothing's being changed here except the 40. 4 plus 40 is 44. But we write down everything the same. And then finally, to be honest, we're pretty much done. The only difference is I break up this 11 times 4, and then that's equal to 44. I just broke that up. Why did I do that? So I can bring this 4, take the square root of it, and bring it outside. So what does that become? This minus 2 over 10, there's a common factor. It's 5. Divide by 2. It's 1 over 5. That's where it comes from, this 5 and this 1. Minus 1 over 5. How would I get 11? The square root of 11 stays inside. The square root of 4, that's where the 2 comes out of the square root sign. And it's still over 10. And of course, divide by 2, I get 1 over 5. So I get my answer. Minus 1/5 plus or minus square root of 11 over 5. Okay, so pause it now and you try. In fact, let's put the equation. The equation is x equals minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all square root over 2a. The most challenging part about this is the algebra. Let's erase a little bit. Okay, pause it and you try. Oh, I had it right here. That's just perfect. Okay, substitute your value. This came from b minus b. This came from this, b squared, minus 4ac. The a comes from there, the c comes from there, and that's 4ac. 4 times 3, it's getting a little bit complicated. 4a c, and then 2 times a. 2 comes down here. And we solve. This 2 over 4 is there.
This 4 times 4 is 16 times 3. That's equal to 48. 8 squared is just simply 64. Now, some of you might be tempted to take the square root of this. Don't, unless it's multiplied. Next step, 64 minus 48 is 16. And the square root of 16 is just 4. This plus or minus stays here from here. Okay, and the next step, minus 8 over 8, I separated it, plus or minus 4 over 8. And that's minus 1, plus or minus a half. So my answer is, there's two possible answers. Well, you don't have to look at it this way. You could say minus 1 plus a half is minus half, or x is equal to minus half, or x is equal to minus 1 and a half, because we're subtracting another half from there. Or you could do it this way that I just erased, and you'll get at the same answer. Okay, word problems. We're going to solve a word problem. So a rectangular skating rink measures 40 by 60. The area is to be doubled by adding the same amount to both length and width. So we add a length and a width, the same amount. We can call that x, because it's the same, and it's unknown. Determine how much is to be added. Okay, so what's the relationship? That's 40, that's x, and that's x. That's why I have 2x and a 40. And of course, that's 60. From here to here is 60. From here to here is x, and from here to here is x. So 2 x's and a 60. So 60, the area of the whole thing, doubles 60 by 40. So what does that mean? That means this whole thing, these two are the same, equals double that. 2 times 60 times 40. 60 times 40 is 2400. So let's FOIL. 60 times 40, 2400. Outside, 60 times 2x, 120x. 2x times 40, 2 times 40 is 80. And of course, the last terms. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Clear. Okay, collect like terms. That's going to be equal to 120 plus 80 is 400. Bring this 4800. 2 times 2400 equals 4800. And I brought it over to this side. Now there's a 0. And now I can, by the way, 2400 minus 4800 is this value. And now I can use the quadratic, of course, you don't have to do this when you're using the quadratic equation, but you can divide everything by 4. So I can divide by 4. 0 over 4 is 0. Take that 4 out of there. Take that, divide by 4 is 50. Divide this by 4 is 600. And that's how we got our answer. That's how we got our result here. Now we use our quadratic equation. Or we can find two numbers that multiply to 600 and add up to 50. Or you can just use the quadratic equation. Minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4. A is 1. Easy enough. C is minus 600. Remember, you're taking the sign and, not just the sign and the value. And then you're taking this 1. There's a 1 over there. So 50 squared is 2500. 4 times 600 is 2400. 4900. Well, that's just the square root of 49 is 70. And the square root of 100 is 10. So it's going to be 7 times 10, which is 70. And we divide both sides by 2, 25 plus or minus 35. And my two answers is minus 25 plus or minus 35. So minus 60 or 100. But can we have a length that's minus 60? No, we cannot. But we can have a value of x equals 10. Therefore, I need to add 10 to both sides to double the area. By the way, you could have just factored, because I had I have an integer. And to be honest, 6 times 10 is 600, and 6 times 60 times 10 is 600, and 60 minus 10 is 50. So it could have been solved that way. All right, homework questions. I'll post this up later and solve a few of them, many of them.